Bob Jenkins along with Larry Newber welcome you to this third stop on the PPG IndyCar World Series this year. The pomp and circumstance of Indianapolis is over. Now it's time to get down to races on some smaller tracks and a battle for the national championship. Since World War II, the Indy drivers have been coming here to Milwaukee for their first race after Indianapolis.
Bob, I think that nowhere else other than Indianapolis perhaps is IndyCar racing more identifiable and is there more tradition than here at Milwaukee. We've got hardcore racing teams, hardcore racing fans, and some of the most exciting races in the history, really, of IndyCar racing have taken place right here at Milwaukee on the Mile.
Now let's talk about a couple of the drivers in today's race. Teo Fabi on the pole again.
Well, a year ago, Teo was a struggling Formula One driver. He just couldn't seem to get that right ride that would put him over the top. Well, over the winter months, with a little help from the March factory, he got combined with the Forsyth racing team. They won once in 1982 here in IndyCar racing. And since that time, it's become apparent that that first victory for Teo is just a little ways away. Certainly, they're very, very fast.
And a very popular winner of the 1983 Indianapolis 500, Tom SNEVA.
Well, 3 times, SNEVA had been runner-up. He was originally from the Pacific Northwest. He lives in Arizona. A lot of fans in the Midwest, particularly in Indiana. Perhaps one of the most popular Indy victories in quite a number of years. And SNEVA, by the way, comes to Milwaukee. Remember, last year, Gordy Johncock, after his 500 victory, found winning here at Milwaukee easy.
And with a look at a couple of other drivers in today's race, let's go down to Gary Lou, who'll be covering the pit area activity for us. Gary?
Thank you, Bob. For the first time since 1975, Gordy Johncock is not driving a Wildcat. He'll be flying the STP colors in a March Cosworth. But really, the story lies in how he got this particular March. His owner, Pat Patrick, was committed to run 2 cars here at Milwaukee. His other regular driver, Johnny Rutherford, is still on the mend from a practice crash injury at Indianapolis. So he called up Danny Ungaius, said, "You want to drive the Wildcat?" Danny said, "Yeah, but would you like to use my March?" Gordy said, "I'd like to run the March." So consequently, Gordy has the March, Ungaius has the Wildcat. And Gordy says he likes the March. They changed the engine overnight. He should be a contender. We'll be back in Milwaukee for the start of the Dana Rex Mays 150 after the following messages.
Here at Milwaukee, and a beautiful sunshiny afternoon, and we have 23 drivers who are lined up ready to go for competition here today.
Race fan at the Wisconsin State Fair Park Speedway, take off your hats and help us wind up these machines until you millions of people live on the Total Sports Network of ESPN. Gentlemen, start your engines!
The president of the Dana Corporation, Stan Gustafson, has given the command to start engines, and we're ready to go for the Dana Rex Mays 150 at State Fair Park in Milwaukee. Now let's review the starting lineup for today's race as we get set to go. On the pole, in car number 33 from Milan, Italy, the Forsyth Skull Bandit March, Teo Fabi. Outside of the front row, the defending PPG IndyCar World Series champion, Rick Mears from Bakersfield, California. Rick will be driving the Pennzoil Penske this afternoon. In row number 2, in car number 2, Bobby Rahal from Dublin, Ohio, in the Red Roofs Inns March. He qualified at 134.605. And outside of row number 2 will be Gordon Johncock from Coldwater, Michigan, in car number 20, the STP Oil Treatment March. Starting inside of row number 3, Tom SNEVA from Paradise Valley, Arizona, car number 5 in the Texaco Star March, qualifying at 134.123. And outside of row number 3, car number 7, Al Unser from Albuquerque, New Mexico, in the Penske Hertz PC11. In row number 4, car number 60, Danny Ungaius from Santa Ana, California, in the Sea Ray Boats Wildcat 9, qualifying 132.802. And car number 9, Roger Mears from Bakersfield, California, in the Machinist Union Penske. In row number 5, from Ann Arbor, Michigan, driving car number 30, Howdy Holmes in the Domino's Pizza Hot One March. And outside of the 5th row, car number 66, the driver from Lafayette, Indiana, Pete Halsmer, in the Arciero Penske PC-10B. In the 6th row, as we have our shot from the pace car number 6, Kevin Cogan in the Master Mechanics March. Mario Andretti, car number 3 in the Newman Haas Budweiser Lola. In the 7th row will be car number 21, Pancho Carter from Brownsburg, Indiana, in the Alex Food Pinata, and number 17, Al Unser Jr. in the Coors Light Silver Bullets March. In the 8th row, car number 18, Mike Mosley from Fallbrook, California, in the Quaco car stereo. And outside row number 8, Tony Bettenhausen, car 10 from Speedway, Indiana, the Provimi Field March. The 9th row, Dick Simon from San Juan Capistrano, California, in the Vermont American March. And Steve Chassis, car 56, in the Genesee Beer Wagon Eagle. In the 10th row, car number 70, Tom Bigelow from White Weather, Winchester, Indiana, in the Lecknight Love Eagle. And car number 28, Gary Bettenhausen from Monrovia, Indiana, in the H&R Spirit Chevy-powered car. In the 11th row, Bill ALSUP, car number 11, Jerry Carl in 61. And completing the field in 23rd position, Bill Kruger, car 46, as Al Unser Jr. has a problem on pit road.
Well, the car never fired up, Bob, and now it looks like he's got it fired. Al Unser Jr. finally moving. The car stumbled down the pit road for a couple of 100 yards, and finally, it looks like they found that spark of life.
Al Unser Jr., who had a very controversial Indianapolis 500, his first 500, as he played a little bit of favoritism with his father and was accused of blocking Tom SNEVA from getting by. And when he was introduced to the fans here in Milwaukee today, I think most of them indicated they didn't like that kind of move. He did receive several boos.
Well, Bob, I'll say one thing. He did an excellent job of driving in that race. He is certainly one of the most exciting young drivers we've seen in quite some time. And I think the measure of how serious the incident was would have to go to Tom SNEVA. And SNEVA has certainly said it was, well, maybe he thought about it a couple of extra seconds, but it was just part of racing. And SNEVA really has not made that big a deal of it.
And of course, Al Unser Jr. is only 21 years of age. We have 5 pace cars here at Milwaukee representing the 5 major car companies in the United States as we take a look at Mike Mosley, who had a very successful race here 2 years ago.
Well, one of the March factory cars for 1983, we saw Mike Mosley in a Dan Gurney stock block Eagle come from last starting position. The car was on jacks on qualifying day. He did not have an opportunity to time. He started from dead last, drove in the grass, drove in the marbles, drove in the groove, drove in the gray, and he came home victory 2 years ago.
Mike Mosley likes this racetrack here today, but did not qualify well. He is in 15th starting position, qualifying at 131.859. The guy who finished second in the PPG point standings last year and who won 2 races, Bobby Rahal, starts third.
There is no clear-cut favorite here at Milwaukee for this race, but this guy right here, and also that guy on the outside, we'll talk about him in a second, certainly is one of the 3 or 4 people that almost everybody up and down pit road is talking about. Remember, he won twice last year, once on the road course, once on an oval. Both of them were ESPN races, and Rahal is one of the top 5 drivers in this type of racing. John Cock in a March. Can he win here at Milwaukee?
When the green flag dropped at Indianapolis, Teo Fabi, the pole sitter, took off like a shot. We'll see if he'll do it here at Milwaukee. The cars come out of turn number 4 looking for green. Teo Fabi well ahead of the field, and the green flag is out, and the Rex Mays 150 is underway. Fabi with another fast start of an Indianapolis type car race down the backstretch with the lead. Into turn number 3, Teo Fabi from Milan, Italy, in the number 33 Skoll Bandit March. Into turn number 4, here they come for the completion of lap number 1 of 150. Teo Fabi is the leader. Running second is Rick Mears. Third is Bobby Rahal. Fourth is Tom SNEVA, and 5th position belongs to Gordon Johncock.
Bob, I would bet that Rick Mears was kind of hoping for a false start. Mears definitely felt that Teo had an advantage coming out of turn number 4, and Rick held back, anticipating perhaps another lap of yellow, but the green flickered, and Teo took off like that shot you referred to from Indianapolis.
He leads them down the main straightaway, completing lap number 2. This is a 1-mile paved oval. The turns are banked at 9 degrees, so it's relatively flat, and the straightaway is 60 feet in width. Teo Fabi down the backstretch, about a half a backstretch advantage on Rick Mears. Into turn number 3 once again. Rahal still running behind Rick Mears, and in 4th position is Tom SNEVA. Here is Kogan and Gaius doing battle. Kevin Kogan in car number 6 and Danny and Gaius, the blue car, as they come down the main straightaway trying to pick up a position. Hosmer slams the door as they head for 2.
Kogan has been looking very racing in the early laps here. I've been watching in the last couple. He's been darting and weaving back and forth, and Kevin is really trying to get to the front.
And Mario Andretti driving that Lola, car number 3, is also making a move. And Mario Andretti, of course, plagued by bad luck with that Lola so far on the PPG Indycar World Series trail. And he would like nothing more than to get that car running and be competitive once again. Mario Andretti is going to the inside, or looking to the inside at least, of Pete Hosmer in turn number 1. There is Kevin Kogan driving car number 6, the second car in that George Bignotti prepared stable. Kevin Kogan from Redondo Beach, California, who had a very controversial year last year with an accident at the Indianapolis 500 before the green flag came out, and also a shunt with A.J. Foyt in a race that we televised for you last year from Michigan International Speedway.
Kevin has shown some real aggression in working his way up to the 6th or 7th position after starting in 11th. Kevin really flexing more muscle than anybody on the racetrack. And Gordy Johncock is coming into the pits.
So Gordon Johncock, the defending champion of this race, is pulling into the pit area, and this definitely is not a routine pit stop. As a matter of fact, several of the crews that we talked with are anticipating only one stop in this 150-mile race. So water now, it appears, is being poured into the engine compartment as some smoke or vapor is seen coming from the engine compartment of that race car. And they're taking the cowling off, and it looks bad for Gordon Johncock.
Well, this, of course, the first time that Gordy, as we go back up front and look at Teo Fabi leading the race, the first time that Gordy has been in a March. He said he liked the car, and there's another competitor, Gary Bettenhausen, appears to have a problem.
Gary started this race in 20th position and is running very slow in turn number 3. Here is Teo Fabi, who's still at racing speed, coming out of the 4th turn and down the main straightaway, completing lap number 8. Fabi still is the leader. 2nd place is Rick Mears. In 3rd place is Bobby Rahal. 4th, Tom Sneva. And in 5th position is car number 7, driven by Al Unser Sr. There is Rick Mears in car number 1, running in 2nd. You can see 2nd, 3rd, and 4th here. Now the leader, Teo Fabi, in car number 33. And the interval between 1st and 2nd, Fabi not able to stretch out much of an advantage over Rick Mears and the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place cars.
One of the concerns voiced by other teams, not Teo as his own team, by other teams in Indianapolis, was that Teo may have been going too fast in the early stages of the Indianapolis 500. Looks to me like Teo may be just a little bit off the pace he was setting about 5 laps ago. At this point, just a conjecture, but I'd say that Teo Fabi is running a pretty intelligent race.
Gordon Johncock has stepped out of his race car, has taken the crash helmet off, and the car is being pushed back behind the wall. The number 20 STP March of Gordon Johncock is out of the race with engine failure. There is a very dejected Gordon Johncock watching what's going on. And here is a yellow flag being displayed as Bill Alsup in car number 11 is running very slow with his hand up. Bill Alsup in that Argo car is very slow on the racetrack.
One of the new chassis for IndyCar racing. There's Gordy Johncock, the winner of that spectacular 1982 Indianapolis 500-mile race.
And we have completed 11 laps of this 150-mile race. Teo Fabi is the leader. 2nd place belongs to Rick Mears. Bobby Rahal is 3rd. It comes out once again after a yellow for a toe-in on Bill Alsup's car. And Rick Mears came very close to pulling off a pass of Teo Fabi as they came down for the green flag, but Fabi remains in the lead as they go down the backstretch. Teo Fabi, your leader. 2nd place, Rick Mears. 3rd is Bobby Rahal. 4th running car is Tom Sneva. And in 5th position is Al Unser Sr. Then we have Kevin Kogan running in 7th position. Once again, Teo Fabi showing the way in that March Cosworth-powered race car. One of the early drivers out of the race, Gordon Johncock, the winner of last year's Indy 500. Here is Gary Lee.
Gordy, we certainly did not want to talk to you this early. Any indication of trouble before it actually happened?
No, it just happened all of a sudden. I felt it going down the backstretch. It kind of hesitated and seized up. Felt like it was seizing up, and then I come apart going into 3.
You had engine trouble Sonny Meyer, the engine man for the Patrick organization, you had some indication of what happened with the power plant.
Yeah, when they said, gentlemen, start your engines, we went to spin the engine over, and the cylinders were full of fuel. Apparently, the fuel valve malfunctioned, filled the engine full of fuel. When we went to start the engine was locked up, so we had Gordy put it in gear. We pushed the engine over backwards to release the fuel out the exhaust pipe. And when we started, as I was coming back to the pits, I told Mr. Patrick, I said, we probably won't run very far because it has the connecting rods are bent in the engine.
The STP March out of the race.
Well, there were many people that thought the Gordon Johncock and March combination was a good one, but it didn't last very long here at Milwaukee. Kevin Cogan is moving up in car number 6. Kevin Cogan now is shown in 6th position. There he is in turn number 1. And we had an opportunity to talk with Kevin Cogan about his race here 2 years ago and his progress since then.
Yeah, it seems to have gone downhill since then. I really have difficulty since that time. It seems to me running on the miles, it takes me a while to get used to it, and then once I'm used to it, it seems to get monotonous to me. So it really takes a lot of concentration on my part to run the miles.
Kevin Cogan, the young race driver from Redondo Beach, California. In this race, there were 11 marches, 4 Penskes, and 3 Wildcats, and Howdy Holmes spun down in turn number 1. That brings out another caution. He has gathered it up, though, and is under his own power, but Howdy Holmes spins down in turn number 1. The crews are out on the track, and the yellow will be displayed.
Howdy was racing with Pancho Carter and Roger Mears. They were going at it for about 10th position. Howdy is one of the teams that I think has a tremendous amount of potential. They seem to get just a little better almost every time out, and this may be the year that maybe this team can break into the win column. Now, Howdy has not lost a lap, so he's still in it here at Milwaukee today.
Howdy Holmes' performance so far this year, he finished in 9th position at the Atlanta 200 and wound up in 6th position at Indianapolis. And Howdy Holmes was ill during that race and was a very tired, exhausted race driver when it was completed. Howdy Holmes from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Well, the question is, with 21 laps completed, will we see some pit stop activity here in the early going, or will the drivers elect to stay out there and hope for other debris on the track or whatever later in the show?
Well, there's Howdy coming in. Of course, his tires are flat spotted. It is his hope that he can get all 4 tires changed so they can run at maximum speed by the time the field gets around again. They'll dispose of those tires and get Howdy back out. As long as the yellow flag stays out at least another lap and a half, he will not lose a lap. The pace car remains in the racetrack, and it is within easy striking distance of the field, so Howdy will be in good shape here. Back out in less than 20 seconds. Brand new rubber all the way around for Howdy Holmes.
Average speed of the race so far, 114.132 miles an hour. That was the average speed just before this latest yellow flag situation caused by the Howdy Holmes spin. So Howdy gets out there without losing a lap, catches up with the rest of the field. The safety trucks are still out there on the racetrack. We'll have to get back into position before we go racing once again. Leading him down, Teo Bobby, followed by Rick Mears, Tom Sneva, then Bobby Rahal, Al Unser Sr., Kevin Cogan, and Mario Andretti. So nobody is electing to make a pit stop at this time, so we'll take a break. 22 laps are completed. We're at Milwaukee for the Rex Mays 150. Back, the green flag comes out once again on State Fair Park in Milwaukee. Tom Sneva looked to the inside, now looks to the outside of Rick Mears in turn number 2. The battle for second position. Tom Sneva high, Rick Mears is low. They battle down the backstretch. Sneva with the advantage slightly. Headed for turn number 3. And it is Tom Sneva once again going to the outside, trying to pass Rick Mears for second position out of turn number 4. And with about a quarter of a race car advantage, Tom Sneva shown in second position that lap. Now Sneva moves around cleanly, Rick Mears. And now Sneva sets his sights on the leader, Teo Bobby.
Keep your eyes on Sneva. A few laps ago, he was running way down just above the grass, maybe dropping the left-hand tires maybe an inch or two below that white line and skimming across the grass, but it looks like that Tom Sneva's march will run anywhere on the racetrack he wants it to go today. He passed Mears on the high side, commenting that he'd run low earlier. Right in the middle of the racetrack, if Sneva catches tail, it'll be March versus March, Italy versus, if you will, Washington, and it could be an interesting duel for the lead.
11 7 Marches, 4 Penskes, 3 Wildcats, 2 Eagles, a Lola, an Argo, and an H&R Spirit. The makeup of the field here in Milwaukee this afternoon. Bobby and Tom SNEVA. Now SNEVA moves in just a little bit closer on Teo Bobby into turn number 1. And it may be that we'll see a battle for the lead here down the backstretch. SNEVA pulling up right behind Teo Bobby, setting him up for turn number 3. In they go. It is Tom SNEVA high on the racetrack. Bobby still maintaining the lead in turn 4. SNEVA high on the racetrack. Here they come. Now SNEVA couldn't pull off the pass. Now he moves to the inside. Can't see any room there either and settles back in second position. But some good racing here at State Fair Park in Milwaukee. Teo Bobby and Tom SNEVA going at it head-to-head.
You know, there's a little difference at this stage in the race between how you handle yourself if you're driving Formula One and how you'd handle yourself if you're driving Indy cars. And Teo Bobby, I want to tell you, he's racing SNEVA and trying everything he can to hold on to the lead. Look at Teo move up, coming off the 4th turn. He parks SNEVA right up along that outside wall if he wants to get by. Teo Bobby is giving Tom SNEVA everything he could ask for. Tom SNEVA, with all those years in a super modified and some experience in rear-engine sprint cars, is going to have to use a lot of moxie because Bobby is not about to let him by.
And interestingly enough, this is the first time that Teo Bobby has ever been challenged in the lead. You'll remember at Indianapolis, he got out into the lead well, came in for a stop, a pit stop, and that was it. Now, however, he is being challenged by Tom SNEVA here with 38 laps completed in the Rex Mays 150. The average speed of the race at this point, 103.573 miles an hour. One of the things that championship auto racing teams has attempted to do over the years is bring the field closer to together, and we have seen that because the first 12 cars qualified within a second of each other. Teo Bobby, the fastest, of course. The slowest qualifier was Jerry Carl at 123 miles an hour. Phil Kruger was added to the field under an option of the promoter. 23 cars made up this race here today, and right now Teo Bobby is the leader as he is in traffic, headed for turn number 3, went way low to get around Steve Chassis in another car.
Well, now, it might have cost him.
Tom SNEVA high on the racetrack, doing battle once again with Bobby. They come out of the 4th turn, and Tom SNEVA is going to be shown as the leader of lap number 40. Tom SNEVA takes over the lead on lap number 40. Bobby back to second position. Rick Mears is still running 3rd, and Bobby Ray Hull is 4th. The winner of the Indianapolis 500-mile race in 1983. There he is, formerly from Spokane, Washington, now making his home in the desert Southwest, Paradise Valley, Arizona. Tom SNEVA, your leader.
Well, as they came out of turn number 2 on the last lap, Teo Bobby had a couple of choices as Steve Chassis approached the slower car. Bobby chose to go down low on the backstretch, and immediately I have a feeling that Tom SNEVA realized that was his opportunity. By going low, Bobby was not able to use as much of the banking entering turn number 3. SNEVA was able to go into the corner high. He passed Chassis where it is traditional to lap a slower car going down a straightaway on the high side, and SNEVA was able to use more of the racetrack. I think Teo's inexperience on an oval may have cost him there just a little bit.
SNEVA, your leader, with Teo Bobby running in second position. 3rd place is Rick Mears. And a battle on the racetrack involving Mario Andretti and the number 66 of Pete Halsmer. This is the battle for 6th position. Andretti in 6th right now, and Pete Halsmer in 7th in car number 66. Halsmer, of course, missed this year's Indy 500. He crashed during practice and suffered a collapsed lung. The doctors would not approve him to run in the race. Halsmer making his first start in IndyCar competition since that wreck, and now challenges Mario Andretti for 6th position. Mario in car number 3, the Budweiser Lola.
Mario Andretti, perhaps the world's most famous racing driver when you take into consideration all of his exploits here in the States as well as around the world with his Formula One. Halsmer, of course, the guy doing double duty, not only driving here but also the team manager for the Super V ride of Roger Penske Jr. in 1983. We understand that Steve Chassis, the graduate from the sprint car ranks, has been black flagged, one of the fastest stock blocks in America today, leaking fluids for the 2nd time in the race, and Steve Chassis has had to pull her in.
George Bignotti once again with Gary Lee in the pit area. Gary?
Well, we did have George here, but right now they're preparing for a pit stop momentarily for your leader, Tom SNEVA. So consequently, George said, let me get back up here and check my statistics. So right now, George, very hard at work. He has one car out. That's the car driven by Kevin Cogan. But right now, the stablemate is running out in front.
Once again, we go back up front and watch the leader. Tom SNEVA comes down the main straightaway. Jerry Carl is right ahead of him in car number 61. And Tom now going to the outside of Jerry in turn number 2, making the pass. Tom SNEVA maintaining this lead. Teo Fabi runs in second position. Rick Mears still in third, and fourth, Bobby Rahal. Fifth position now belongs to Al Unser Sr., and in sixth place, Mario Andretti. Pete Halsmer in seventh.
Teo is having a little bit of problem getting through traffic, and Rick Mears is closing in a little bit. Teo Fabi will try to hold off Rick Mears here as they are in heavy traffic. The black flag has also been displayed for Mario Andretti.
And here he comes into the pit area. Andretti is in his pits because of a black flag. The problems continue for Mario Andretti. They're going to make a routine pit stop and put some fuel in it and change the tires, while a championship auto racing team official checks the back of the car to see if any moisture is falling from that vehicle. Our Timex timer is on this stop by Mario Andretti. Already 17 seconds have elapsed, and they're still putting fuel into this race car. I don't believe they changed any of the tires. Now they have the car full of fuel, and away he goes. A 25.2-second pit stop for Mario Andretti. It came on lap number 48.
A bit too early to have it be referred to as a routine stop. Most of the teams had hoped they could go at least 70, maybe 75 laps before they made that first pit stop.
So Mario Andretti will be catching up with the rest of the field now, as the leader continues to be Tom SNEVA. He is in turn number 3, running all by himself on the racetrack. No traffic immediately in front of him. Teo Fabi has gotten around the slower cars, and now there are no cars between Tom SNEVA and Teo Fabi. SNEVA finished fourth in the 1982 Rex Mays 150, but won the most recent race here at Milwaukee. That was last August.
SNEVA not only won here at Milwaukee, but he's been very good on the miles. He's won a couple of times at Phoenix, so Tom SNEVA certainly knows the way to get around a 1-mile paved racetrack in an Indy car.
Tom SNEVA, car number 5, the Texaco Star, running all by himself on the racetrack, with a third of this race over. SNEVA, the winner of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. Winning the 500 is more than just winning. We ask him, how really important was it to you?
Well, you know, it's very important. I think, you know, it's important for the general public's impression of you, you might say. But I think I'd gained the respect of the people on the inside of the sport, the racers themselves. But I think this gives you a little more exposure to the general public that you didn't have. You'd been a second-place finisher, and now the exposure you get from Indianapolis helps you with the general public. But for me, I think it's as important to have that respect of the people on the inside of the sport.
Well, of course, Tom has been a 2-time national champion, but has never won the Indianapolis 500 until this year. And SNEVA coming down the main straightaway. The car right ahead of him is Mario Andretti. So Andretti struggling to get back into a challenging position.
Tom SNEVA, the former school teacher and principal, he grew up really near Mount St. Helens, which has become infamous the past couple of years. He owns the Quick Lube stations in and around the Spokane area. Tom SNEVA has become one of the most popular IndyCar drivers, I think, I guess, in the last 30 days of anybody we've seen in quite some time. SNEVA is one of those guys who's a good ambassador for the sport. He almost left this George Bignotti fielded ride, however, earlier in the year, but right now he's going to be feeling pretty happy that he chose to stay.
Tom SNEVA started this race in 5th position, qualifying at 134.123 miles an hour. We didn't have any record set here in qualifying yesterday. Teo Fabi the fastest at 137.096. Very warm day here with temperatures now headed into the upper 80s. And it's also rather hazy in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We'll see if that plays a part in the racing here today, whether it be on the cars or on the drivers. There you can see Tom SNEVA moving down the backstretch, and once again the car right ahead of him is Mario Andretti. They go into turn number 3. Tom SNEVA on the high side, able to get around Mario Andretti very easily. So 55 laps have been completed as Roger Mears in car number 9, the Machinists Union Special, pulls into the pits for what appears to be a routine stop. They're putting fuel in it. They're changing the right rear tire of the car. Roger Mears sitting motionless in this racetrack, waiting for the crew to complete work on it. The tire just about ready to go on, and Roger Mears moves away. Here is the leader, Tom SNEVA, continuing to lead and continuing to lap some of the slower cars. Join ESPN Live for Top Rank Boxing on June 14th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 Pacific Time. From the New Orleans Marriott in New Orleans, Louisiana, Jerome Plowden and Larry Lane in a light heavyweight title match. Top Rank Boxing, June 14th, here on ESPN.
A sport that we at ESPN are pretty proud to give to you also. It's been a sport that we have taken a lot of people who were not that well known in their sport of boxing before they were on ESPN, but they became champions later on.
Tom SNEVA still leads this race, and Mario Andretti is out of competition. You can see him climbing out of his Lola right now. Mario Andretti again disappointed with his performance here at State Fair Park. In the previous races this year, he finished 5th at Atlanta and 23rd at the Indianapolis 500. There is Tom SNEVA, the leader. 62 laps have been completed. Tom SNEVA with the great performance at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in winning this year. But there were other things that happened during the running of the Indy 500 this year, including a very controversial move by this man, UNSER Jr. Larry Newber had an opportunity to talk to him about that situation.
Well, my reaction is, you know, I felt real good about it. I was out there racing, and you know, I found myself stuck in between two people that I really shouldn't have been in, but you know, I chose to do it, and you know, I went for it, and I stand behind it now. You know, I really shouldn't have, maybe not have done it, but I was out racing for position, and I figured if I could get by both of them, then a yellow would come out and I'd make up a lap. So since they were the leaders, so you know, I was trying to do that, and but you know, the way things fell, I was happy to do what I was doing then. So.
Actually, I think it turned out to be more of a media event than it did among you drivers. Tom SNEVA put the best caboose on it, I think, in the victory circle.
Yeah, it was, you know, Tom's a super person, and for him, you know, not to badmouth or anything like that, it takes a very big man to do that, and you know, I appreciated it. It was something that I was racing, and we all were racing, and you know, I just couldn't get out between those two guys, so you know, but it ended up working out for the best.
Well, UNSER Jr. is running in 12th position, and that young man has a bright racing career ahead of him. He's come a long way in just the last couple of years. There is the leader, Tom SNEVA. Car number 5, the Texaco Star. Now some pit stops being made along pit road as 66 laps have been completed. Mike Mosley, one of those in for a routine stop. Fuel being put in that car. They appear to have some kind of problem on the left side. Now Mike Mosley moves away. Also in for a stop, Dick Simon in car number 22. Mosley moves past Simon on pit road. Rejoining the hunt, Mike Mosley with not a particularly good qualifying performance here today. He started in 15th position. Gary Lee is with Mario Andretti.
An early retiree, frustration written on your face. What happened this time to the Lola?
Overheating.
What was the problem earlier when you were black flagged? Again, was that the water coming out?
Rainwater, yeah.
All right, so an overheating problem, more problem besieging the new Lola of the Haas-Newman team driven by Mario Andretti.
Tom SNEVA once again moving through traffic on the backstretch. Roger Mears being passed by Tom SNEVA there. So Mario Andretti is out of the race here this afternoon. And here are some others that have dropped by the wayside. Steve Chassie is out. Kevin Kogan, an early retiree. So is Bill ALSUP. Gary Bettenhausen, and the first man out of the race was Gordon Johncock in car number 20. So 6 cars have dropped out of competition here. but a lot of good racing still out there on the track with Tom SNEVA moving through traffic down the backstretch, going to the high side of Pancho Carter in turn number 3. Carter has to go way low as Tom SNEVA passes him now and moves out of turn number 4 onto the straightaway once again. And the interval between first and second position is about a second as Teo Fabi is still hanging right in there. There are 2 cars between Tom SNEVA and Teo Fabi, but Fabi still in a good position. Here is Tony Bettenhausen in the number 10 Provimi Meal Field car. And the routine pit stop is going on now as tires are being changed on the right side and fuel being put in the car.
Well, there should be a lot of activity.
And the leader, Tom SNEVA, is pitting. The leader, Tom SNEVA, pitting. So is Pancho Carter. There he goes. We'll put the camera on Tom SNEVA here and watch this stop. That stop is being made on lap number 71. We're not quite halfway through this race. The Timex timer is on the car. The rubber being changed on the right side. Fuel being put in. The right rear is on. Now the front tire is on. The fuel is in. The jacks are down. And away goes Tom SNEVA back in competition. Now we'll be watching for second place Teo Fabi to be making a pit stop very shortly.
Well, the interesting thing about SNEVA's stop is he didn't really prove anything to the rest of the team, rest of the cars on the racetrack, rather. There's Teo Fabi right behind SNEVA. Look at Teo racing SNEVA, but SNEVA will have nothing of it. He does not want to lose a lap to the little Italian. SNEVA slams the door on Fabi, commenting about SNEVA stopping before the halfway point. They haven't shown us yet whether or not they can go 75 or 80 miles on a load of fuel. So right now, nobody knows for sure if Tom SNEVA was close to being dry when he pitted or whether or not he can go more than half the race.
Here is Pete Halsber in that Arciero car in the pits. He is in 5th position, or was before this pit stop. They're not changing rubber. Fuel being put in. 73 laps completed. If Fabi can go for another couple of laps, he will demonstrate his ability to run half of the race with a load of fuel, and we have had 2 very short yellows during the first half of the event. Tom SNEVA is running just ahead of Teo Fabi on the racetrack, did not lose a lap when he pitted. And here is Bobby Rahal in the number 2 Red Roofs Inn car. He is in for the routine maintenance. We continue to watch Teo Fabi here and see when he is going to come in. He's coming out of turn number 4 now and staying on the racetrack. So as we watch the crew working on Bobby Rahal's car, we also can tell you that Bobby is still out there on the racetrack. Here he is in turn number 1. The car on the right, on the left is Tom SNEVA, who has already been in for his stop.
Well, Tom SNEVA did not, or rather he did change right side rubber. Bobby Rahal did not. That could be an interesting maneuver later on in this race. We get very late in the race. Bob has mentioned that it's a pretty hot day. The tires could go. Well, Tom SNEVA's got a fresh pair on the outside. Bobby Rahal, expected to be among the top 5 all day, does not.
76 laps completed and still no sign of a pit stop by Teo Fabi. He's on the backstretch. Let's go down to Gary Lee very quickly.
Right now, indeed, the Teo Fabi Skull Bandit pit crew standing by for perhaps their only stop of the day. We've not had a chance to talk with Barry Green, the team manager, to see exactly what the team strategy is, but the team is standing by for the expected arrival of Teo Fabi, the rookie from Milan, Italy. The tires are now in position. The refuelers are standing by, and we should have a pit stop momentarily.
All right, we'll watch the situation. Al Unser Jr. comes into the pits as we continue to watch Teo Fabi and that Skull Bandit at the end of the backstretch, headed for turn number 3. Fabi, the leader of the event right now, but he has not made his pit stop. He slows the car dramatically in turn number 4 and very obviously is headed for the pits. Here comes Teo Fabi, the leader. The lap is number 78. He pulls it to a stop in his pit area.
Well, for sure, Fabi, at least with a couple of caution flags, can go the distance.
Gary, what's going on down there?
Changing 3 tires, the right side, the left rear. They'll top off the 40 gallons of methanol alcohol and send the young rookie back on his way. A versatile driver from Milan, Italy, a quick stop as they shoot some water on the side of the car to neutralize any fuel spillage, and he's underway.
Teo Fabi moves out of the pits as Rick Mears comes in. The Penske crew goes to work on the Pennzoil Penske car number 1, signifying his championship in the PPG INDYCAR World Series last year. Rubber replaced on the right side. The fuel is in. They're making a chassis adjustment on the front end of the car, indicating that that car may not be handling well. And Rick Mears moves out after a 21.6-second pit stop.
Fine-tuning, I think, on the front wing of Rick. Remember, he said he needed more stagger. At least we thought we had picked it up on the radio earlier. They changed the right side rubber. There goes Bobby to the high side. There's probably your battle for second position right there, side by side. Bobby on the high side, Mears on the low side. Tom SNEVA has regained the lead.
Into turn number 3, it is still Rick Mears to the inside and Bobby outside. Bobby getting the advantage coming off of turn number 4. Straightaway, they're pretty much side by side, and Rick Mears has to go to the inside of the racetrack and almost gets too low going into turn number 1.
Did Teo flex some muscle or not, and some aggression behind the steering wheel, finding room between Bill Kruger and Rick Mears, the defending champion.
So the leader is Tom SNEVA at this point. In second place, according to the information from Auto Racing Team scoring officials, Howdy Holmes in second place. Third is Teo Bobby. Fourth is Rick Mears, and in fifth position is the number 2 of Bobby Rahal.
But of course, Howdy Holmes as well as Al Unser Sr. have not pitted yet, so as soon as those guys complete their pit stops, we'll get a more true indication of the relative positions in this race. But SNEVA has already reassumed the lead.
Well, let's take a look again at what happened here on the main straightaway just last lap as Teo Bobby and Rick Mears both moved to the inside of Jerry Carl.
Well, from a different angle, you can see how limited amount of space that Teo had as he looked ahead into turn number 1. He saw a cement wall looming up on the inside, and Jerry Carl beginning to pinch down. Jerry had to make his move into turn number 1 to stay on the racetrack, and Teo found just the right amount of room, and got through.
More than halfway through the Dana Rex Mays 150-mile PPG INDYCAR World Series race with Tom SNEVA, the leader, and Teo Bobby in second position. Fair Park Speedway, 1-mile track. They've been racing here since 1903. And this is the 150-mile Rex Mays race that Tom SNEVA leads right now. He has a 7.25-second lead on second place. Rick Mears. Third is Teo Bobby. And we noticed during Rick Mears' last pit stop that they made a chassis adjustment on the car, and the word now is that there is indeed a handling problem. We have a spin up in turn number 4.
I think it's Pancho Carter.
Pancho Carter spins in turn number 4. I don't know whether there was any contact with the wall or not. The car does not appear to be damaged, but it brings out our third yellow, and Tom SNEVA, the leader, heads for the pits. SNEVA is in the pits. The accident or the spin comes on lap number 100, so we've got 50 more laps to go. The crew checks the rubber. It appears to be okay.
Just for fuel.
They fill it with fuel, and Tom SNEVA will be out with ability now to go the rest of the way, definitely.
Well, that settles that, doesn't it? Can he go the distance or not? The answer being yes. Most of the leaders probably will take this opportunity. The radios are now abuzz with all the crews indicating to the drivers that, hey, the leader, SNEVA, is pitted. If we want to be competitive, we've got to come in now. We've got to fill up on fuel. Maybe hold back a little fuel to keep the cars lighter, to make them a little bit faster. But if we need to make any changes on our chassis or the tire stagger setup, we got to do it now.
Well, Bobby Rahal is in the pits, and he has had a problem. He stopped in the wrong pit, ran over one of the cables from the air jacks, and had to be pushed into his own pit, so that cost him valuable time. You can see them still sorting out the situation here as fuel is being put in the car. Now Bobby Rahal moves away, but certainly not a very good pit stop for Bobby Rahal, who was running in 5th position.
So Rahal goes back into the fray, and it'll be interesting to see if there's any type of ruling or not on that situation. Rahal with a little bit of problem here. And as we go back to the Pancho Carter situation in turn number 4, Pancho just now being towed toward pit row.
Well, we'll get the standings now from timing, or rather scoring, and determine who exactly is in the lead. They as several of the other cars come into the pits now, including Pancho Carter, who spun up there in turn number 4. Danny and Gaius is in. So is Rick Mears in car number 1. Doesn't appear to be any damage to that car. It's running well. So apparently Pancho Carter just spinning up there in turn number 4. He pulls to his pits and will be out on the track again very shortly, I'm sure.
Pancho was with Pete Halsmer and Howdy Holmes and a couple other people, and they have really been going at it for about the last 10 or 15 laps. There's been some real good country racing going on out there, short track IndyCar style.
All right, now the leader at this point, according to CART, is Al Unser Sr. with Tom SNEVA second and Teo Fabi running in third position. And the green comes out once again. Al Unser Sr. is the leader. A lot of traffic on the main straightaway as they come down to resume racing with 105 laps completed. We have been informed that Bobby Rahal has been assessed a 1-lap penalty for running over an air hose that occurred during his most recent pit stop that we explained for you. So Bobby Rahal, who was running in 5th position, has reportedly been given a 1-lap penalty. Now the question is, can Tom SNEVA, who gave up the lead during his pit stop during the yellow caused by the Pancho Carter spin, can he catch and pass Al Unser Sr.? Sr. is in the backstretch, and Tom SNEVA heads out of turn number 2 chasing him. Here's Gary Lee.
We have one very tired race driver out here in Pancho Carter. Fatigue may have played a role in that spin. We talked to Johnny Caples, the team manager. He said, my driver is very hot. He is very tired. Apparently, he simply lost concentration and spun the Alex Food March.
Well, it is unusually warm for this time of year here in Milwaukee as the temperature is in the upper 80s. So that could very definitely have played a part in that incident up there in turn number 4. There is Al Unser in the Hertz Penske leading this race, a 3-time Indy 500 winner in 70, 71, and again in 78. Second place, Tom SNEVA. There he is out of turn number 4. Al Unser, of course, is the leader of the current point standings for championship auto racing teams. Al would like very much to pick up the trophy for the PPG IndyCar World Series. SNEVA and Rick Mears are tied for second with 21 points. Gordon Johncock is fourth with 20, and John Paul Jr. also in 5th position. 6th, 7th, and 8th, the tie. Jeff Brabham, Howdy Holmes, and Pete Halsmer, and Al Unser Jr. is in 9th position with 11 points. And of course, we have several IndyCar races to cover for you this year on ESPN. Our next live event will be at Cleveland, Ohio, at Burke Lakefront Airport. An exciting race last year on a road course constructed on the runways and the taxiways at this airport. We'll be there on the 3rd of July for coverage of the 500-kilometer race in Cleveland, Ohio.
We're showing only 4 cars now on the lead lap, in addition to Al Unser Sr. and Tom SNEVA, Teo Fabi, and Rick Mears. Bobby Rahal, of course, runs out on the racetrack in an apparent posture of being on the lap with the leaders, but information has filtered through that he will be penalized the 1 lap for running over Chip Ganassi's hose.
Well, this is very reminiscent of the Indianapolis 500. Al Unser, the leader, Tom SNEVA chasing him. That's the way it was until about 9 laps to go at Indianapolis when SNEVA finally made the move on Al Unser, went into the lead and won the race. There is the interval between the two with 40 laps to go. SNEVA trying to catch Al Unser. There is Rick Mears passing Teo Fabi, and Rick Mears may have straightened up his handling problems because Rick is now in 3rd and Teo Fabi back to 4th place. There's Rick Mears in turn number 3 as handling problems have plagued him all afternoon, but now he may be correcting those and moving up.
That was the same predicament that Rick Mears found himself in at Indianapolis. He really had to wrestle the car all day long, and earlier in the day he was having a problem with the stagger. Then he indicated the car might have been pushing a little bit as we got later on into the race. You know, we were talking about the CART PPG industry schedule. It has become truly one of the most spectacular in all of racing, following the Cleveland race, which will be televised here on ESPN. Of course, the Michigan 500. There'll be the ProBeal 200 in July at Elkhart Lake. The Domino's Pizza 500 at the Pocono International Raceway in August. ESPN will be on the air also in August with the Los Angeles Times 500-kilometer race featuring the CART Indy cars. This circuit will travel to Mid-Ohio in September, as well as the Michigan International Speedway. And of course, one of the season wrap-up races will be at the Las Vegas, Nevada Caesars Palace Grand Prix course, as well as Laguna Seca in October.
And let's go down to Gary Lee, who's covering the pit area for us. Gary?
Roger Penske, you have cars in first and third. How are the handling characteristics now of that car driven by Rick Mears?
Well, we had a cut tire. That's why we came in. We put 3 tires on really to put them in good shape, and we evidently cut a right rear. So in that last yellow, we came in and changed it. He's now catching up to SNEVA, but it's going to be a tight race. There's about 30 laps to go, so anything can happen. I don't know whether Tom's shown us everything he has the way he took off at the beginning.
So it could be a dogfight between your 2 drivers.
Well, I'm not worried about which one. If one of them could end up in first, it would be fantastic, but you never know.
Obviously, Roger Penske would be happy with a 1-2 finish.
All right, now here's the situation. Al Unser is the leader, but Tom SNEVA is closing. 3 laps ago, he had a 1.52 second lead. It was reduced to 1.21. Now it is 1.09 second interval between Al Unser and Tom SNEVA. Unser able to get through some slower traffic now. Tom SNEVA is also, but more slower traffic is right ahead of Al Unser in turn number 4. 34 laps to go here. Thousands of race fans have turned out for this event here this afternoon, and those sitting in the bleachers that do not have a roof over them are getting very warm. Al Unser Sr. leads the Rex Mays 150 with Tom SNEVA second. Rick Mears is third. Teo Fabi is fourth. 117 laps have been completed. Race from anywhere you can here at State Fair Park. Even get yourself a ladder and climb up to the top of the roof of the house.
I bet he told his wife he was going to go out and paint.
Well, ESPN presents the 1983 U.S. Open Golf Championship. The first round live Thursday, June 16th at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time and 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time. Then the second round on Friday, June 17th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 Pacific. Join us at Oakmont Country Club in Oakmont, Pennsylvania for live coverage of the 1983 U.S. Open Golf Championship. There is the leader, Al Unser, in car number 7. The average speed of the race is 113.615 miles an hour. 28 laps to go. Al Unser is in turn number 3. As he comes by this time, we'll attempt to get an interval between first place Unser and second place Tom SNEVA. It isn't very much, I'll tell you that. The interval is 1.17 seconds. So the question is, can Tom SNEVA do it? This is very reminiscent, as we mentioned, of the Indy 500. And there were those who claimed that Tom SNEVA was just sitting back waiting for the right opportunity to make the pass and go on for the victory. Is that what he's doing here this afternoon?
Well, if you're backing me into a corner and asking me for an opinion, I would say yes. But I tell you, that guy in that bright yellow number 7 is one of the most prolific winners in the history of Indianapolis-type car racing. Al Unser Sr., who has won 36 times, he's second on the all-time list for career wins, second only to A.J. Foyt. There's a lot of cunning behind that steering wheel. We've got one of the most outstanding drivers in the history of this sport leading the race, and one of the hottest drivers, maybe the hottest driver, no pun intended for today, right behind him. So it could be a very interesting finish. Then they go to the inside now, looking underneath Danny Ungaius, who drives the Wildcat, tries to test it and work out some of the bugs for Pat Patrick.
Danny Ungaius shown in 12th position right now. Let's run down the standings as we have them. Al Unser leading, SNEVA second, Rick Mears third, Teo Fabi fourth. In 5th position, Bobby Rahal, a lap down. 6th position is Mike Mosley. 7th place, Howdy Holmes, and 8th is Tony Bettenhausen. And look at Tom SNEVA pulling up right behind Al Unser. And with less than 25 laps to go, perhaps Tom SNEVA has decided that this is the opportunity that he has been waiting for. Although Al Unser maintaining the advantage right now as he sets that car into turn number 3. But here comes SNEVA sneaking up right behind him. SNEVA appears to be able to catch him in the turns. He pulls up high on the racetrack. Now as they come down the straightaway, Al Unser stretches out the advantage by just a couple of feet. SNEVA once again pulling up in the turns. Let's see if SNEVA can take him here in turn number 2. Unable to do so right now, but good head-to-head racing as Al Unser and Tom SNEVA are going at it again in Indy cars. Now SNEVA with the move on the outside in turn number 3.
and Tom SNEVA kind of left Pete right out in the middle of the freeway there. Neither one of them, but SNEVA losing a lot of ground. Now we're getting down to the final stages of this race. SNEVA may have only 1 or 2 chances to get around Al Unser, but he lost a lot this time around.
Let's take a look at what happened there once again as some very close action occurred coming down the straightaway and into turn number 1. Here is Tom SNEVA going high on Pete Halsmer and Al Unser going low, but then SNEVA deciding also to go low and could not get the horsepower to pull ahead of Pete Halsmer by the time they entered the first turn.
Couldn't tell exactly. It looked like that Halsmer had left enough room for Tom to go by on the high side, but SNEVA decided to jerk the wheel to the left and dart down low.
Well, Teo Fabi is running in 4th position after sitting on the pole for today's race. There is Teo Fabi.
We may have a problem in the Skull Bandit. Talking with Jerry Forsyth, the owner of Car 33, he says on board they have a red indicator light when there is a problem with the oil supply. That light is now on. They have been in radio communication with Teo. Teo says, I don't want to come in. The crew says, we don't want you to come in. Slow down just a bit. Conserve the engine because we do want to get a high finish. So perhaps an oiling problem with car number 33, but he'll stay out as long as possible.
Teo Fabi running in 4th position. Now the interval between 1st and 2nd is 77 hundredths of a second, so it's less than a second interval between Al Unser and Tom SNEVA as we continue to watch Teo Fabi in that Skull Bandit. Here we go back to the lead now. The interval once again as Tom SNEVA has managed to close in once again after that incident here on the main straightaway and in turn number 1 where he lost a little bit of ground, but now he's up in a challenging position once again.
And he's up with fire in his eyes. If you saw him come out of turn number 4, Tom was jerking that race car. He was standing on a throttle and he almost got out of shape, but I guarantee you I can see him burning from here. SNEVA is hungry, and once he catches Al Unser Sr. this time, I don't expect him to waste too much time in trying to get around. Let's watch him close.
But the question is, can he catch him and can he pass him? He has not shown as much strength here as he did in Indianapolis. He just kind of had the feeling in Indy that he was going to win and had the horsepower and the chassis working right to pass him. But now, with 133 laps completed and less than 20 to go, the question becomes, can Tom SNEVA do it? Tony Bettenhausen is running slow on the racetrack in turn number 3, both of them able to get around him. Now SNEVA headed out of turn number 4 onto the straightaway. Dart to the inside, or will he? He elects not to. He elects to settle back and see what Al Unser does in turn 1.
The move's coming up going into turn number 3. I think SNEVA may be ready. Let's watch what happens.
All right, they go out of the second turn, down the backstretch down. Once again, Unser putting a little bit of distance between himself and Tom SNEVA. SNEVA going high to pass the slower car in turn number 3. Now Al Unser moving high to pass a slower car. They come out of turn number 4. It's still Al Unser the leader and SNEVA right behind him.
He had his momentum, but a lap car got in his way, so Tom SNEVA will have to back up, regroup, and take a big, deep breath and wait again, and maybe in a couple of laps we'll have another opportunity.
Well, of course, if Al Unser wins, it will stop a long winless streak for him. He has been associated with the Longhorn Racing Team for the past 3 seasons, but this season going with Roger Penske and company. And it has been a good year for Al Unser so far as he leads the point standings. He had a 2nd place finish at Atlanta and also a 2nd place finish at Indianapolis. Has won $188,611 so far in Indy cars this year.
We've also picked up on the radio a report that CART officials have requested medical attention for Pancho Carter at the end of this race. They feel as though he may be suffering from heat prostration.
Well, now the leader, Al Unser, moving in on the 4th place, Teo Fabi, about to put a lap on him. So we'll see if Tom SNEVA can get around and win this race when we come back to State Fair Park. They continue to run the same way they did before we went to the break. It is Al Unser leading and Tom SNEVA in 2nd position. And look who is just ahead of Al Unser, his son, Al Unser Jr. But now Tom SNEVA pulling to the outside of Al Unser and trying to pass, but again to no avail. They have just passed the 4th place car of Teo Fabi, so only 3 cars remain on the lead lap, and Al Unser Unser Jr. gets between Al Unser Sr. and Tom once again, but SNEVA goes to the inside and passes him. And now down the straightaway, more passing going on and positions being fought for.
I'll tell you, Bob, Al Unser is doing a tremendous job. I don't think he has lost a tick of the watch through any of the lap cars that he's passed in the last 15 laps. SNEVA is obviously running just a little bit superior to Al, not that much. The difference is not as dramatic as it was at Indianapolis, but Al Unser is doing such a great job at setting up and passing traffic that SNEVA just has not had the time or the room to maneuver around.
The car just ahead of Al Unser now on the racetrack is Mike Mosley, who is running in 7th position.
There goes SNEVA.
It's been a good day for Mike as he started in 15th and is now up to 7th, and Al Unser and Tom SNEVA battle for position down the backstretch as they go around Mike Mosley, but SNEVA unable to do so. Now at turn 3, here it is, Tom SNEVA passing Al Unser in turn 3, and SNEVA goes into the lead with 7 laps to go. Tom SNEVA takes over the lead once again.
And very much to the delight of the crowd, you can hear their roar above the roar of the racing engines. Tom SNEVA proving to be a very popular winner in 1983.
That's the Texaco Star with associate sponsorship from True Value Hardware. And Tom SNEVA now has Howdy Holmes right ahead of him at turn number 4. Tom SNEVA off of turn number 4 will dart to the inside and pass Howdy Holmes here on the main straightaway. 144 laps completed, 6 to go. SNEVA leads. Al Unser in 2nd position. Rick Mears 3rd. Teo Fabi is in 4th place. 5th is Bobby Rahal. 6th Howdy Holmes. 7th is Mike Mosley. In 8th position is number 9, driven by Roger Mears. In 9th position is Pete Halsmer, and 10th is Tony Bettenhausen.
You know, you mentioned True Value Hardware, and you think of the name of Dan Cotter. Dan Cotter, who got together with George Bignati a couple of years ago and really was one of the impetuses behind George staying in the racing business. And I'm sure that George Bignati and Dan Cotter are mighty glad that they're together now after the INDYCAR victory at Indianapolis. It may well be that they've got another finish and another victory here at Milwaukee. It could be exactly the same as it was at Indianapolis. 1, Tom SNEVA, 2, Al Unser, and 3, Rick Mears.
And we will know in less than 4 laps as Tom SNEVA clicks off lap number 146. 4 more to go for Tom SNEVA.
Cotter is also an indication of one of the new teams that has come to INDYCAR racing kart style. This organization has grown so much in the last 5 years. All sorts of interesting things are happening to it. We've been watching the patches on drivers' uniforms. Gordy Johncock has an interesting one. Palm Island Beach Club, for instance, has become one of the associate sponsors of Gordy Johncock. Another new industry to this type of racing. They're down in the West Industries. And somebody has even come up with bubblegum chewing cards, although they don't sell them in conjunction with bubblegum. It's just trading cards with all the facsimiles, the faces of all the INDYCAR drivers and their record on the back. All sorts of exciting things happening to this series, and right there in that white Texaco Star number 5 is maybe the most exciting of all.
Danny Ungaius between 1st and 2nd place right now. Al Unser goes to the inside of Ungaius in turn number 4 and passes him rather easily. 148 laps complete. Next time around, the championship auto racing team officials will wave the white flag. There is Sharon SNEVA, Tom's wife. She is with him at all races in his pit, doing the scoring for her husband. He is on his way to a victory this afternoon. He is now in turn number 4. Off of turn number 4 onto the main straightaway, and the white flag is being displayed. The white flag out for Tom SNEVA. One more circuit in this 1-mile track, and SNEVA will have won his 2nd INDYCAR race in a row.
SNEVA with some breathing room, but not all that much. Al Unser, you'll see him. There he is, the yellow car right behind him. SNEVA's got to make a move here to get around Rahal. Bobby gives way, moves up about a lane and a half. SNEVA goes underneath. Al Unser just out of the picture. There he is, the bright yellow car coming down. Here comes checkered flag.
And the checkered flag is shown to Tom SNEVA, winner of the Dana Rex Mays 150 at Milwaukee. And a happy crew and a happy wife clapping hands and congratulating their man, Tom SNEVA, winner in the Texaco Star True Value Hardware March Cosworth. 2nd place goes to Al Unser Sr. 3rd place, Rick Mears, the same 3 top finishers as at Indianapolis. The 4th place position goes to Teo Fabi. 5th place, a lap down, Bobby Rahal. A very safe, a very competitive race, and ESPN congratulates Tom SNEVA. We'll be back to talk with him in a moment.
Victory Lane, Tom SNEVA. The first thing Tom said was nice going crew. He congratulated the crew. When you're hot, you're hot. Obviously, it's nice to win Indy, but it's nice to come back here and win the second time.
Well, it's a lot more fun winning here. And, you know, we had a good time out there, and Al was working good, and, you know, we had to slip and slide a little bit, but we got her done. The guys in the pits did a super job, got us in and out, and brought the Texaco Star home #1.
I think you really enjoy driving in traffic.
Well, that's what makes racing fun, and that's why we're here. So it was a good day for everybody.
Any problems along the way for the Texaco Star?
Nothing major, you know, just traffic, slipping and sliding, trying to go fast enough to get by the other guys. And Al was working real good late, and we could get in a little deeper than he could, and trapped him a little bit. But, you know, I'm just happy for the guys in the Texaco Star.
You had a good chase going early with young Teo Fabi.
Yeah, they were a little quicker on full tanks again, but when they heated up the tires and stuff, then, you know, it made a little difference and we could come up on him. But, you know, that was nice because he didn't go out and we were able to beat him when he was on the racetrack. So it was a good day for us.
And, of course, I know you enjoyed the competition with Al Unser Sr.
Well, yeah, you know, Al's a super racer, and he does a great job for us. And, you know, I'm just happy we came out #1 today.
You've gone 2 in a row. The next stop is on the road course, and that realistically is not your forte.
Well, it has been in the past, but I wouldn't mind trying to make it 3 in a row.
All right, congratulations, Tom SNEVA.
Tom SNEVA is also a master at getting all the sponsorships recognition. You notice he had on 3 hats during that interview there: Texaco and the Rex Mays and the Goodyear hat.
Well, that truly has become a part of big-time racing. It's so expensive to go fast, and all the racers are very appreciative of all the big companies that have come to IndyCar racing. And there have been a lot of new faces in terms of the sponsorship row in the past 3, 4, 5 seasons, and that's an important part of what's going on.
All right, we'll have some more thoughts about this race that's just been completed. A very safe race, a very competitive race, one that Tom SNEVA wins. We'll be back to talk about it in just a moment. A race summary showed that the race took 1 hour, 17 minutes, and 42 seconds to complete. The average speed, 115.815 miles an hour. There were 4 caution periods, but nothing for anything of any significance. And there were 3 leaders in the race: Teo Fabi, Al Unser, and the eventual winner, Tom SNEVA, who right now is being escorted around the racetrack to the delight of the thousands of race fans gathered here today. Well, this is how it all occurred. Al Unser was running in front, and all of a sudden, Tom SNEVA was there, and this is where they passed.
You had the feeling it would be only a matter of time. That's turn number 3 coming out of that's turn number 2 coming out of the backstretch. SNEVA's got him set up now. He knows he can go into the corner harder because he's higher. There's more banking up there, so Al Unser has to hunker down as he goes into turn number 3, get out of the throttle, and SNEVA riding on the 9-degree banking, not much, but just enough, and he gets around. By the way, SNEVA moves into second in the point standings.
Congratulations to Tom SNEVA, and don't forget, we'll have live coverage of the Cleveland race on the 3rd of